Battle of Kosovo 1389 begins not with a clash of steel, but with a heavy silence hanging over the high plateau of Gazimistan. Prince Lazar's allied Christian coalition faces the largest Ottoman army ever to enter Europe, 60,000 men under the personal command of Sultan Murad I. What unfolds across this blood-soaked field will determine the survival of the fractured Serbian principalities. This battle will produce two things neither side expects: a tactical innovation that shatters the legendary shock power of European heavy cavalry, and the only battlefield assassination of a reigning sultan in recorded history. Neither outcome is visible from the front lines as the opposing armies prepare to collide. Within 3 decades of the tragic death of Tsar Stefan Dusan, the once mighty Serbian Empire had completely disintegrated into a volatile collection of competitive, feuding principalities. Ambitious provincial lords consistently prioritized local rivalries over a unified defensive strategy, leaving the region entirely vulnerable to external threats. To the east, a highly centralized and disciplined military superpower was surging rapidly into southeastern Europe. The Ottoman Empire possessed a terrifyingly efficient, standing military structure built around professional Sipahi cavalrymen rewarded with Taimar land grants and the unyielding elite infantry of the newly established Janissary Corps. This overwhelming imperial war machine presented a unified threat that the fractured Balkan states were mathematically ill-prepared to withstand. The catastrophic disaster at the Battle of Maritsa in 1371 permanently altered the balance of power, sweeping away key Serbian nobles and forcing regional rulers into humiliating vassalage. From his capital at Kruševac, Prince Lazar Hrebeljanović emerged as the prominent leader of northern Christian resistance. Prince Lazar Hrebeljanović deploys his allied coalition, choosing martyrdom over submitting to the Ottoman Sultan. He believes his coalition of heavily armored feudal knights can shatter the Ottoman vanguard in a single devastating charge. Facing continuous probing raids throughout the decade, Lazar understands that his independent survival is entirely a matter of rapidly diminishing time. A long column of Ottoman camels laden with heavy baggage tents marches single file through a narrow, pine-forested mountain pass as grey clouds gather over the peaks. This immense imperial host, mobilized across Anatolia by the spring of 1389, moves relentlessly westward through Bulgaria under absolute centralized command. Lazar attempts to buy crucial time through diplomacy, sending an envoy near Kratovo to deliver a letter addressing the ruler as an equal. Sultan Murad I dismisses the Serbian peace gestures at Kratovo, ordering his massive war machine forward onto the Kosovo plain. The Sultan views the diplomatic overture as a transparent stalling tactic that will not halt his imperial trajectory. Sultan Murad expects the fragmented Western coalitions to crumble before his professional infantry center, which he assumes can easily absorb the initial shock of the Serbian heavy cavalry without breaking. He is calculating his strategy based on traditional static lines, ignoring the extraordinary capability of his immediate opponent. Lazar is an exceptionally battle-tested commander who successfully checked early Ottoman incursions at Plochnik and Dubravnica. His elite Moravian knights have spent years perfecting their devastating wedge formation specifically for head-on breakthroughs. The stage is now irrevocably set for a catastrophic clash of military doctrines, but neither leader foresees the terrifying variable waiting at the front lines. Sultan Murad alters the entire strategic trajectory of the campaign by rejecting the wider, easier northern highway through Sofia. He deliberately steers his massive columns onto a significantly more difficult, flood-prone southern route through Kustendil and Kratovo to maximize tactical surprise. By prioritizing raw speed, the Imperial Army successfully navigates the rugged mountainous terrain and entirely bypasses the heavily fortified silver mining city of Novo Brdo. Bypassing these formidable stone walls allows Murad to descend rapidly onto the high, rolling plains of Kosovo before the Christian coalition can fortify the mountain passes. A narrow, high-rolling triangular plateau, bounded tightly by the Sitnica River on the west and the Lab River on the east, forms the grim geography of Kosovo-Polje. This field of blackbirds represents a vital strategic crossroads, a geographic fulcrum from which imperial forces can strike deep into northern Serbia or westward into Bosnia. The restrictive natural funnel completely prevents lateral movement, transforming the upcoming engagement into a direct, bloody, head-on collision. Lazar's coalition army arrives from Kurshumlia, entering a landscape that actively locks them into a claustrophobic trap where retreat is functionally impossible. On the evening of June 14, 1389, nearly 60,000 men stand deployed across the high plateau, straddling the main road leading north to the Danube. Lazar commands his multi-ethnic coalition from the center, flanked by Vuk Branković on the rising right ground, and Vlatko Vukovic's elite Bosnian heavy cavalry on the left. Across the narrow field, Sultan Murad anchors his center with an elite guard of 2,000 highly disciplined Janissaries. His sons, Bayezid and Yakub, command the powerful imperial wings, protected by a bizarre frontline barrier of baggage camels and thousands of archers. The opening coordinated volleys of Ottoman arrows fill the early morning sky of St. Vitus's Day with the terrifying hiss of thousands of falling shafts. Lazar unleashes his devastating heavy cavalry wedge, smashing directly into the imperial left wing under Yakub Çelebi, with ground-shaking momentum. But the magnificent offensive charge completely loses its vital momentum as the heavy European warhorses suddenly recoil in terror from the frontline camels. Unaccustomed to the pungent smell and sight of the desert beasts, the horses rear violently, leaving the tightly packed Christian knights completely exhausted and dangerously surrounded. Absolute chaos erupts as the heavy wedge of Serbian cavalry crashes violently into the line of snarling baggage camels. The terrified reaction of Christian warhorses, catching the unfamiliar scent, shatters the neat tactical lines of the coalition vanguard. An impenetrable wall of wood and steel, formed by the elite Janissaries, holds the Ottoman center with iron discipline. Under the blazing summer sun, the mechanism of the Sultan's doom is silently set in motion amidst a grinding, close-quarters melee that no one in the imperial tent can see coming. Vuk Brankovic's forces on the right wing successfully exploit the initial breakthrough, tearing through the outer ranks of Yakub's Anatolian troops. The sheer mass of these regional levies hacks its way deep into the vulnerable Ottoman flank, threatening to isolate the left-wing command entirely. Simultaneously, along the banks of the Lab River, Vlatko Vukovic's seasoned Bosnian veterans engage in a ferocious struggle against the aggressive light Sipahi cavalry of Prince Bayezid. The Bosnian heavy cavalry holds its ground with remarkable resilience, preventing a disastrous imperial breakthrough on the left. Prince Lazar expects his infantry reserves to stabilize the sagging lines, but the intense midday heat turns the blood-soaked field into a graveyard of exhaustion. The Serbian heavy cavalry, trapped in heavy plate armor under the blazing summer sun, becomes thoroughly disorganized as the momentum of their initial charge completely dissipates. Across the field, the elite Janissaries continue to stand like an immovable fortress around the imperial command tent. The entire Christian coalition now faces a point of absolute agonizing crisis as their center begins to buckle under relentless imperial pressure. A curved, hand-forged steel dagger slipping from beneath a woolen, blood-spattered cloak catches a single ray of sunlight inside the dim, silk-lined imperial tent. A legendary Christian knight penetrates the dense Ottoman lines by pretending to be a defector seeking to perform an act of submission. As he kneels before the sovereign, the knight suddenly plunges the hidden blade deep into Murad's chest, inflicting an immediate mortal wound. This astonishing assassination strikes at the very heart of the centralized imperial leadership at the moment of its apparent tactical triumph. Prince Bayezid alters the destiny of the empire by concealing his father's mortal wound from the fighting ranks to prevent a catastrophic panic. Instructing the Grand Vizier to maintain absolute secrecy, the ruthless prince immediately executes his younger brother, Yakub Çelebi, inside the imperial tent to secure his own succession. With the chain of command firmly in his grasp, Bayezid unleashes a furious, desperate counteroffensive across the entire field. The imperial center, reinforced by the Sultan's personal cavalry guard, surges forward with renewed fury to crush the exhausted Christian forces. Within minutes of Bayezid's brutal counteroffensive, Prince Lazar's warhorse is killed beneath him as the Serbian center completely collapses under the imperial onslaught. Fighting valiantly at the head of his remaining personal guards, the exhausted prince is quickly surrounded by Ottoman infantry and captured alongside his highest-ranking nobles. The capture of the supreme commander instantly shatters the cohesion of the remaining Christian resistance, leaving the survival of the entire coalition hanging by a thread. Vuk Branković recognizes that the battle is decisively lost and orders his surviving regional levies to conduct a disciplined withdrawal from the field. This calculated survival maneuver preserves the only remaining military force capable of defending northern Serbia from total annihilation. On the opposite flank, Vlatko Vukovic witnesses the unfolding disaster in the center and similarly withdraws his surviving Bosnian veterans toward the safety of the mountains. The departure of these allied contingents leaves the remaining pockets of Christian knights to be systematically surrounded and cut down by the swarming Imperial light infantry. Princess Milica expects a negotiated truce, but the immediate aftermath of the confrontation brings only a scene of apocalyptic desolation across the fields of Gazimistan. A vast field of wild, blood-red peonies blooms through the blackened, trampled grass, where shattered lances and notched swords lie half-buried in the dust. Inside the imperial tent, the captive Prince Lazar and his surviving nobles are executed in a final grim act of imperial authority before the dying Sultan. Though a tactical draw in immediate casualties, the engagement stands as a catastrophic strategic defeat for the Christian coalition. How did a devastating physical defeat on the blood-soaked plains of Gazimistan transform into the ultimate moral victory and spiritual foundation for Serbian national survival? While Western European cities initially celebrated rumors of a great Christian triumph based on early reports of the Sultan's dramatic assassination, the grim reality of destruction soon asserted itself across the Balkans. The historical reality underwent a profound mystical transformation over centuries of foreign rule. The Serbian Orthodox Church and oral epic poetry recast the fallen prince not as a defeated general, but as a Christ-like martyr who chose a heavenly kingdom over earthly survival. Did Vuk Brankovic truly betray his Christian allies, or was his controversial retreat a calculated, necessary preservation of the last remaining Balkan army? The mythic narrative cast him as a Balkan Judas to shield collective memory from the painful reality of structural and military vulnerability. Conversely, Miloš Obilić was elevated as the ultimate archetype of heroism, inspiring future generations to emulate his sacrifice. This powerful national myth would echo through the centuries, directly inspiring the fateful assassination of an archduke in 1914 and shaping Balkan national consciousness into the modern era. Within a single generation, the Battle of Kosovo completely destroyed the independent medieval Serbian state while simultaneously forging a powerful 600-year cultural myth of spiritual resilience. The devastating loss expended the entire regional military elite in a single afternoon, leaving the principalities entirely defenseless against future expansion. Princess Milica was forced to accept humiliating Ottoman vassalage, compelling her young son, Stefan Lazarevic, to pay annual tribute. This rapid collapse of independence directly forced Western European crusaders to confront the Ottoman advance at the Battle of Nicopolis in 1396. The road from the fields of Kosovo leads directly to the Danube, where a grand European crusade will attempt to halt the newly secured Ottoman advance into the Balkans. Subscribe to stay with this series, as the next major historical engagement is already in active production. If you are watching on a television screen, the QR code on screen now will take you directly to the subscribe button on your mobile phone.